After rescuing a point at Leicester, Borough's dip in form continues to be a concern. The final game of this block before the international break, we've got to host free-scoring Birmingham City. What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Project Boro Preview Show, where we, of course, look ahead to every single Boro game, looking at the opposition, predicting the Boro team, and, of course, predicting the result as well. And today we are looking ahead, as I say, to this weekend's game at home to Birmingham City, who, of course, are, well, like we discussed with Wrexham, a newly promoted side who have come up from League One, except Birmingham probably came up with the most hype and momentum any side has ever came into the Championship with. Of course, we all know the big money they've got, the ownership, the fact that they literally broke records in League One when they got promoted, and many, including myself, predicted pre-season that they would indeed be in the promotion race once again, this time to the Premier League. However, this season so far, it's not quite worked out as well as that for Birmingham so far. They've had a bit of a slow, stuttery start. They have struggled at times, which is understandable. But are they now finally starting to, using a football cliche, click? Well, let's take a look at Birmingham then and see if they are starting to find their feet, and if they are starting to finally be the side many predicted them to be pre-season, and how much of an issue they could be for Boro at the weekend. Now, of course, the big elephant in the room when it comes to Birmingham is their recent results. Before we look at the league table, it is worth noting they have won their last two home games, their two last league games, both by 4 goals to nil. So they come to the Riverside having scored 8 goals in their last 2 games, which, by the way, is almost half of Boro's entire goal tally for this season. 2 unbelievably dominant and brutal, ruthless victories against Portsmouth, who, granted, are not in good form at all and are not scoring at the moment. So maybe you could look at that and say, okay, it's a home result. They're against a team struggling. Fair enough. However, midweek, they beat Millwall 4-0 at home. They dispatched of Millwall, who are a side who, well, recently, only a few games ago, were on a 4-game winning run and were breathing down our necks, getting second. So I do think Birmingham have definitely turned a corner potentially, but it is only worth noting them results came at home. They are still not really all that impressive on the road. So will they carry that brilliant form at St Andrews onto the road, up to the Riverside? We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, so far, Birmingham, they are up to 9th in the Championship. 14 games played, of course, 6 wins, 3 draws, 5 defeats, 19 goals scored, 15 conceded. So not that many goals scored if you take away the 8 they've literally just put away. They were actually relatively low scorers prior to the last 2 league games. In terms of form, they have won 3 of their last 5. There was an away victory in there at Deepdale, which is an impressive victory because not many sides win at Deepdale this season. Not many sides are beating Preston full stop this season, if we are honest. So 3 wins in 5, coming off the back of 2 big 4-0 victories. Boro, on the other hand, winless in 3, 2 wins in 8, spluttering, stuttering, and quite honestly slipping at the moment out of the top 2, and if we're not careful, slipping out of the top 6 as well. Boro have to pick our form up. I know people keep saying it's okay with that, it's okay with this, it's okay with that. It won't be if the form keeps continuing in the manner that it has done. In the last 10 games, form-wise, we are in the bottom half. If we want to maintain a top 6 spot, we have to start picking up better results than what we have been, and performances especially have got to start improving as well. So Birmingham are without a doubt the form side between the two, but as I mentioned, there is maybe a little bit of hope when it comes to their away form and also Boro's home form as well. Let's not forget, Boro are one of the strongest sides at home in the Championship. And looking at the home league table, we're actually 7th. We've played, well, the least number of home games compared to a lot of teams who've played upwards of 8. We've only played 6 home games so far, and we are unbeaten at home. One of only 2 sides yet to lose at home in the league this season. Coventry, of course, are the others. So even though we sit 7th in the home league table, we still have one of the best home records in the Championship, and have only let in 3 goals at home all season. Granted, we've only scored 7 as well, so very, very tight, low-scoring games at the Riverside so far. When you look at the away league table, you have to go all the way down to 19th to find Birmingham City. Of the 7 away games they've had, they've only won 2, and they've lost 4. They've only scored 4 goals on the road this season, conceding 9. So if you look at the balance, I know form is in Birmingham's favour right now, but home form of the season, the home league table, the away league table, Boro, very good at home, don't let in many. Birmingham, not very good away, don't score many. So there is still a degree of hope for Boro in that department. It just depends on how much of Birmingham's recent home form they can actually carry into their away form, and as I say, up to the Riverside. So that's the numbers. That's where they are in the league table. That's where Boro are in the league table, and the form between the 2 sides as well. Taking a look at Birmingham's numbers, they currently have the joint 6th best attack in the Championship. They've scored, as I said, 19 goals now. It was a lot lower than that prior to the last 2 games, but they are up there in the top 7 now for goals scored. Meanwhile, Boro, well, we are starting to slip a little bit. We're down to 11th when it comes to goals scored now, 17 that we have. And when it comes to XG, there is a big difference between the 2 sides, because I think what Birmingham have done this season, they've underperformed in front of goal. I'd love to have known what their XG was prior to the last 2 games, but whatever it was, they were only on 11 goals. I don't know what their XG was, but even after banging in 8 goals in the last 2, they're still underperforming their expected goals this season. They have the 4th highest in the Championship. 21 is their expected goals, and they've only scored 19, so they should have even more. And they're only behind Coventry, Ipswich and Southampton when it comes to the quality of chances they've created. So maybe they've actually created quite a lot of good chances throughout the season. Their forward line has just not been finishing them until now. And if that's the case, then Boro need to be very, very wary of Birmingham's front line, because I think they would have came up here and created chances anyway. But now they're starting to actually take them, and that is definitely a concern. Boro are down in 19th for expected goals, so we're creeping up, but it's still not great. 15.4 still in the bottom 6 for XG in the Championship. That has to simply improve. When you look at other numbers in the Championship, you can back up Birmingham's really good creativity, because they're up there for big chances, 3rd for the most big chances in the Championship, 3rd for big chances missed. So they do create a lot, they do have a lot of big chances. Yeah, if they get them at the Riverside, maybe they'll take them, and maybe Boro will be in trouble. We've got to try and limit this very creative and currently goal-scoring Birmingham side to very, very little if we are to get a result. When it comes to the defence, Boro do, though, have the edge in that department, as you'd expect. We currently have the 4th best defence in the league. So we have slipped from the 1st, 2nd best defence down to 4th. Birmingham themselves are 9th currently for their defence, 15 goals conceded. So still not bad, still decently in the top half. But the XG against is very interesting, because they actually have a better XG against than us, because they have the best in the league. And I couldn't believe this. I did not expect to see Birmingham have the best XG against in the whole of the Championship. We did have the best up until recently, so you're looking at the 2 sides who give up the least number of high-quality chances in the entire Championship. They've conceded more than what they should have. We've conceded a little bit less than what we should have, but you are looking at 2 sides who do not give much away. So, yeah, it's an interesting matchup. Birmingham seem like they've got everything they need at the top and at the bottom of the pitch. They have created enough. They don't let in big chances. Their defence is all right, and they've maybe underperformed going forwards, but I think they're starting to possibly level out, and I think the data very much points at Birmingham being a top side going forward and a top side defensively. They've maybe just not actually showed that on the pitch with their results as yet. So they are a team who I think are coming together and do have that perfect combination of goals at one end and a good defence at the other. A similar blend as to what we're seeing with Coventry and Stoke. I think that's going to see Birmingham slowly move up the table, because the numbers, the data always levels out as the season goes on. Plenty of signs for me that Birmingham are a side doing everything right at both ends. It was just maybe the goal scoring, the finishing, maybe the goals they were giving away that was the issue, starting to level out. They're starting to show, I think, what their data suggests, and that they are a very good team in the Championship. Boro, on the other hand, still performing immensely well defensively, but as we keep saying, going forward creatively, nowhere near good enough, and it is something that we desperately need to see improve. Otherwise, as I said, the data will level out and Boro will start to slip down the table and certainly away from the top two. So taking a look at the Birmingham team, then of course they've got a very, very good team. We all know that. They spent big in the summer once again. Play with a 4-2-3-1. They've got a solid defence, a good goalkeeper, a solid midfield, and they've got effective attackers in the final third as well. Damari Gray and Patrick Roberts, who we know all about, are very tricky, pacey, direct wingers who will cut inside and cause problems. We all know what Patrick Roberts is about. You've got to try and show him on his outside. Hopefully Matt Targett can do a similar job as to what he did on Fatawu. Didn't give him all that much in the Leicester game. Show Roberts down on his right. He's useless with his right foot. Let him cut in on his left. You're in a bit of trouble. And of course, in the centre of the pitch, they've got Jay Stansfield, who has been their most effective attacker so far. 8 goal contributions for him, 6 goals, 2 assists. You've also got Damari Gray, who's got 2 goals and an assist to his name. Patrick Roberts has also got 2 assists. Their left back, 3 assists as well as a goal too. So they have got very effective attacking players in the starting 11. And that's not even taking into consideration the players they've got on the bench. Keshi Anderson can come on. They've got Kyogo, who they got for big money, who hasn't really started all that well, but is definitely a dangerous player who makes very intelligent runs, just maybe hasn't had his finishing boots on so far. But yeah, they're a very good team with players who I think are starting to click and move in the right direction, and they do have options off of the bench as well if they need it. So yeah, good team are Birmingham. And now it's time to look at the Boro team, and once again, get your tombola at the ready, guys. Get all the bingo balls in and roll them up. Pick them out at random and see what the hell you get, because I don't know what to expect from this Boro team either. All I will say, saw against Leicester, 4-2-3-1, completely ineffective. Bergzorg and Whittaker, completely ineffective. Bergzorg has started the last 5 league games. Can you believe that? For a team chasing promotion, Bergzorg has started the last 5 games. Whittaker's played a part in the majority of them. They'll probably be in the 11 again. And the only reason why that might be is because of Boro's current issues at centre-back. Of course, Alfie Jones is suspended, but we expect Dale Fry to be back, so we've probably got the same amount of numbers as to what we had going into the Leicester game. And he started with the back 4 then. I'd still try and get us to play with a 5. I really, really would. And if it means doing this, that might be the play. You know, bringing Matt Targett in as a left centre-back, I'll be honest, he's a solid fullback, Matt Targett, and he's good from set pieces, but I don't think he provides us the width and what we need going forward as a wing-back as such. Silvera, albeit his end product is incredibly hit and miss, maybe we have to take a chance on his end product just working the odd time, because he is the only player, I think, in them wide areas in the whole team who's actually got a bit of pace, a bit of agility and acceleration, who can step over and beat a man and put a ball into the box. Even though half the time the ball's nowhere near the target, at least he gives us that. So maybe you just have to give Silvera a chance at left wing back, bring Matt Targett in as a left centre back if it means we can utilise a back 3, which I just think we are better with. You know, if we play with a 4, we're forced into using Whittaker and Bergzorg, and then you may as well just give up, because both of them, especially Whittaker, don't offer barely anything, unless we're looking at something similar to what we had against Ipswich in the first game of this block, where they come here, they were open, they left us space, and we were able to capitalise. Are Birmingham going to do that? Maybe. If they do, there might be a case for a 4-2-3-1, but at the minute, I would rather go with this. Hackney and Morris in midfield. I've seen a lot of people say Hackney should be dropped. Listen, his form's not been great, 100%, but there's no one else in that midfield who offers what Hackney offers, unfortunately. And if you played with Brown and Morris, you're playing with 2 more conservative, defensively sound midfielders. And we need goals, we need creativity, we need attacking play at the moment. And if you take Hackney out, you are making a very blunt side even more blunt, in my opinion. At least on his day, Hackney can carry the ball and make things happen, especially if the opposition gives him space to do so, and Birmingham might do that if they come and attack at the Riverside. That means, of course, we've got the 2 10s. It's just a case of just hoping again that we can find the right blend. I mean, I'm not even certain on this front three. I could have been there all day choosing and changing my decision. I've went with Conway just for his press and his energy up front. I think we do miss him when he's not in the team, but he's not finishing his chances right now, so there's quite easily a reason you could make a case for Strelets to start as a 9 instead of a 10. Could put Sen up there. Honestly, at the minute, I have no idea. The only dead set starter in that 3 is Riley McGree, because he made an immense difference when he came on against Leicester, and I thought was the best player on the pitch. If we can get him fit and get him starting games, I think it will make Boro so much better. So if there's even a chance we can start Riley McGree, I beg Rob Edwards to do so. I've put Neepon on the other side just because he came on with McGree against Leicester and looked okay, but again, we've still not seen much from him. So the front 3 is a big conundrum. You could put Hansen in if you wanted. You could put Strelic in there if you wanted. Honestly, it could be anything. At this point, I really don't know. I really don't know with Boro's front 3. I'm just hoping something just happens. That is literally it at this point. But that's what I would go with. It's far from a certain starting 11 because I honestly just don't know. And there's loads of players who are out of form at the moment and aren't exactly all that convincing. Rob Edwards did say in one of his press conferences, there's not many players who are standing out as an absolute starter, and that's why he keeps changing it. And I understand that. There's not a select 11 who are banging down the drum and saying, I deserve to be in this team on form. I am a must starter. There's not many, so that's... Yeah, I can see why he keeps changing it. So I've just threw names that are line up there and we'll see what happens. I'll probably be wrong and we'll play with a 4-2-3-1 with Bergzorg and Witter again. But that might work if we have a similar game against Ipswich. Now, this is where I think it could get interesting. What do Birmingham do? Because they're scoring for fun at the moment. Do they want to come to Riverside and play that same sort of attacking style? Because if they do, and I wouldn't blame them because they're full of confidence and goals right now, that would actually benefit Boro. Because we saw against Ipswich, when a team comes at the Riverside and plays expansive football against us and left us the space, we punish them. And the one thing this Boro team is good at is when we have space. Alternatively, when you look at the Wrexham game, the Watford game, the Leicester game, when teams decide to sit in and congest the middle of the pitch, Boro are completely nullified. And then we're trying to hope that our wing-backs, full-backs will create something, and we don't. So, do Birmingham allow themselves to get carried away and try and attack Boro? Because honestly, if they do, I'd actually fancy us. Or do they come to the Riverside, sit in, hit us on the break, and make it difficult? Because if they do that, I think they've got a much bigger chance of getting a result, like many of the teams have in the last 3 games. So it all depends on Birmingham and how expansive they decide to come at the Riverside, and if they want to keep that goal-scoring form going, or do they want to be a little bit more pragmatic, frustrate Boro, and then try and hit us on the break. That's going to be interesting. I think depending on what they do will depend on what we do and how much space we have and how many chances we create. So we'll see how the game pans out. It depends how Birmingham approach it as well, I guess. As for my prediction, I'd love to back Boro to win this game, but quite honestly, there's just nothing to cling on to at the moment at the top of the pitch to give me any confidence that we're going to win the game. They're a team who've scored 8 in 2 games, for God's sake. You'd put a lot of money on them getting a goal. If they get a goal, it means Boro have got to score 2. Do we look like scoring 2? Not really. Getting us to score 1 is a struggle at the moment. So I'm struggling to predict a win here. But Boro's home record has been good and Birmingham on the road haven't. So I'm going to go with a draw. I'm going to go Boro 1, Birmingham 1. And I think it would be all right of a result for Boro, but really we could do a win in this game. And the funny thing is, if we do win this game, we'll have picked up 11 points from this block of games. And 11 points from 6 games is nearly 2 points a game, which is still almost automatic promotion form. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, how on God's earth, if Boro win this game, if we came out of this block with 11 points, when it feels like we've played dreadful for most of it? And that just shows how bonkers this league is and how big results can be. So a win honestly would put Boro back in a great position, and you'd almost come out of this block feeling pretty good. We'd have started it well against Ipswich, finished it well against Birmingham, a lot of iffy stuff in the middle. But if we win this game, things are actually still looking good. Anything less, though, we might drop to 4th, 5th, 6th, lose it. Oh my goodness, the mood will not be great going into the international break, and that's not even discussing the future of Rob Edwards, which currently is another topic in itself. So, big game for Boro. Hope we get a win. Not feeling all that confident, but we will go in with the hope, as we do every week, that something will finally click, something will happen, and we will pick up a big win. But these are in form, and the scoring for fun. Boro are going to have to be a lot better than what we've been of late if we are to get a result. So let me know your thoughts, feelings and predictions in the comment section below. As always, hit a like on the video if you've enjoyed it, subscribe for more if you want to see more from me. Of course, there'll be a review of this game on Saturday night as always, and then next week I'll be back with Chris for another elongated Project Boro podcast, where as always we'll look back at the block of games that we've just had, and then we'll look ahead to a very busy Christmas period, and we'll decide how many games we want to run through, as there'll be a lot to discuss, I'm sure, as I'll say once again, especially with the whole Rob Edwards Wolves situation, which still does not look like it's any far from being over. So yeah, lots to come. Subscribe for all that good stuff. Leave me your thoughts below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.